Hi everyone, it's Tara. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am here with my February reading wrap-up. February was actually like way better than I thought it was going to be, especially considering it's the shortest month of the year, so I have no complaints. I completed 9 books. I did carry over one from January. I've read a total of 3,834 pages. Awesome. All of the books that I read were rated like above 3 stars, like 3.5 or higher. So that's awesome. I did have 1 DNF, but you know. So the first book I read was Heartstopper Volume 2. This was a super quick read. Read it on my lunch break in one day. I gave it 4.5 stars. It is the second volume, so I'm not going to go into too much, but I love the relationship between Charlie and Nick. It is currently my favorite relationship in books. I just think it is so sweet. I think they are a great couple. Charlie is so super patient with Nick as Nick's like figuring things out. I love that. I just think they are adorable, and I cannot wait to read volume 3. The next book I read was The Other Alcott by Elise Hooper. I gave this 4.5 stars as well. This is about Louisa May Alcott's sister, youngest sister, May Alcott, and kind of her life after Little Women was published. May Alcott did some illustrations for Little Women, and the book kind of follows her life once Little Women is published and some of the criticism that came out about May Alcott's illustrations and her life after that. She wants to study art to become better as an artist, and it just tells that story. I really enjoyed this little like snippet of that life because Louisa May Alcott wrote Little Women, which is my favorite book. I loved the relationships that you got to see between Louisa May Alcott and her sister. There were lots of like funny little like sayings and quotes from this book that I was like, yep, siblings are the same. It does not matter what time period you are. Like, siblings tease, siblings get in fights, and I loved that as well. So really enjoyed this. The third book that I read this month was Hum If You Don't Know the Words by Bianca Marias. I don't know how to say her last name. Loved this, 5 stars. It was such a great book. I loved the story so much. I learned a lot about something I did not know anything about. This book follows a young girl, Robin, and then who is a white girl living in South Africa, and then a black woman, Beauty, who also lives in South Africa. And both of their lives are affected by a riot that happens, and their lives are drastically altered, like changed forever because of these riots. And they come together, and Robin learns that, you know, maybe this like lifestyle and this like way of thinking that everybody around her has had previously is not the right way to think, because she gets to know Beauty for who Beauty is, not the color of her skin. She meets other people along the way that she has been told previously are bad, awful people, and she kind of has these eye-opening experiences that are like, wait, these people are just people, just like I'm a person, and why are we being told that they are bad? There's nothing wrong with them. And it was such a beautiful story. I loved Robin. I loved Beauty. Their characters are amazing. I love the story that I told. No complaints about this book. All right, next up, The Fountains of Silence by Ruta Sepetys. Another 5-star read for me. Loved this story. I just wanted to keep reading. I think I read like most of this over the course of 2 days, and it's like an almost 500-page book. It's like 478 pages. Again, loved these characters. I cannot wait to read more Rudis Petties. This follows Daniel and Anna. Daniel is an 18-year-old son of like an oil tycoon from Texas. His family is visiting Spain. His dad has some business there, and they're spending a summer in Spain. And this is right after the Spanish Civil War, like the aftermath of the Spanish Civil War. And then Anna is a maid who works at the hotel that Daniel is staying at and has been assigned to wait on Daniel's family. And Daniel and Anna become friends, and Daniel gets to see what Spain is really like, and not just the front that Francisco Franco and Spain wants to like portray. He really gets to experience what Spain is like because of his relationship with Anna. And it is such a good story. This is another event that I did not know a lot about, and I loved this book. Again, highly recommend. About halfway through the month, I kind of got a little bit burned out on historical fiction, just because historical fiction tends to be longer, and a lot of them, at least the ones that I read, dealt with some like pretty tough subject matter. So I decided I wanted to completely change gears and go to mystery thrillers. So then I picked up The Chalk Man by C.J. Tudor. I read this in one day. I mean, it's not overly long. It's less than 300 pages, but this was another great book. I gave it 4 stars. It's not like my favorite new mystery thriller of all time, but it's good. So this follows a group of friends in 2016 and 1986. In 1986, the summer of 1986, this group of friends had a few interesting experiences, and those experiences have kind of stayed with them from them being like 13-year-old teenage boys all through their lives. And somebody comes back from the past, and more incidents start happening that kind of mimics what happened 40 years ago. And they are left a little confused as to what's going on. I'm not going to say much more because it is a mystery thriller, but it was very interesting. There were some nice little plot twists. It read really quickly, obviously. I enjoyed it. Then I had a buddy read with Mandy from Bookishly Mandy. I will leave a link to her channel down below. We buddy read Scythe. I was pleasantly, like super pleasantly surprised by this one. I did not think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. I didn't think I was going to hate it, but I was like, I mean, it'll be fine, but it's not going to be my favorite. 5 stars. I love this. I had to hold back from reading ahead because at the end, we read 5 chapters a day for 8 days. And at the end of every like chunk of chapters, I was like, I just have to know what happens next. I feel like there were all these twists and turns and things I wasn't expecting, and it was so good. If you don't know what Scythe is about, Scythe is set in a world in like the future where humans have conquered death, illness, all of that. So scythes are chosen to basically keep the population under control, and so they are tasked with cleaning or killing people to keep the population under control. And this follows 2 scythe apprentices, Rowan and Citra, and their training to learn how to become scythes. I loved not knowing much more than that about this book because I was not expecting some of the stuff that happened to happen. So I'm not going to say more than that because I liked going into this pretty blind, and I'm so glad that things were not spoiled for me. So I'm just going to leave that summary at that. Highly recommend. Cannot wait to complete or to finish this series. Highly recommend as well. Then I finished War and Peace. Whew, this was a doozy. Rainey was super helpful in helping me get through this. She finished it this month as well. I'll leave a link to Rainey's channel down below. I gave it 3.5 stars. I'm glad I read it, but I will probably never read this again. Once is good enough for me. It gets a little philosophical at times, which I'm not a fan of. I also didn't love the war chapters as much. I was much more a fan of peace. But overall, like, I enjoyed it. It was good. It follows like 5 aristocratic families during the Napoleonic Wars and how those wars affected their lives. Some of them go to war, some of them experience like loss and death, some experience going broke like because of the war. Like it was good, enjoyable. It's definitely a book that I am glad that I read, but it's not going to happen again. I can 100% guarantee that. Then I read The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. Really loved this one. Gave it 5 stars. This was another really quick read. This book gets creepy and like spooky, paranormal. Like this is probably, that I can recall, like the creepiest book I've ever read, like where I felt like at times I could not read it at night. More so even than the Stephen King that I've read. It gets creepy, which I loved. It was awesome. Again, this is another like mystery thriller. I don't want to say too much, but this follows Vivian in 1982. She is working at the Sundown Motel and disappears. And then years later in, I want to say 2016 or 2017, Vivian's niece, Carly, decides that she wants to figure out what happened to her aunt. She wants to investigate. She wants to know what happened. So she goes to the same hotel, the same town where Vivian disappeared from, and starts researching to figure out what happens. And whew, it was so fun, so creepy. I loved it. But if you like don't like scary things, I might stay away from this. Then the last book that I completed this month was Anne of Avonlea. This one slowed me down about halfway through. And it's not because of the book itself. I think it's just that there were so many other books that I was really reading, like really enjoying, and that I was reading a lot quicker. So I just didn't like gravitate towards picking this up. So I set it aside and I finished it via audio and ended up giving it 3.5 stars. I definitely did not like this as much as Anne of Green Gables, which I gave like 5 stars, I'm pretty sure. But the story was good. I will be continuing the series in March. It wasn't as enjoyable to me as Anne of Green Gables. So this follows Anne. It picks up kind of right where Anne of Green Gables left off. So if you haven't read Anne of Green Gables, I don't want to spoil it too much, but Anne's a little bit older, a little bit more mature. While some things in Anne's life have changed and Anne is a little bit more mature, she does still get in some of the predicaments that she got into back in Anne of Green Gables. She has the same group of friends. She's still living with Marilla. Some new characters come into her life that we get to know and befriend with her. So overall, it was all right. I'm hoping that I like Anne of the Island a little bit better, because I don't know if I will continue the series if I don't. But like I said, I don't think it was fully the book's fault. I think it was just that I was enjoying other stuff more, and so I didn't want to pick this up. But once I picked up the audio, I got through the second half of the book really quickly and did enjoy it. I did have a DNF, and that DNF is, I was trying to finish this book in February and got like 100 pages in and just couldn't. In February, I'm pretty sure Erik with Break Even Books, if I can, I think it was in his January wrap up, but I'll find the video that he talks about this book, put it down below. And he had similar, he said something that kind of got me thinking like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. And he ended up being right. So I ended up DNFing Miss Peregrines' Home for Peculiar Children. The story was like all right, but I found myself not wanting to pick this up at all. I wasn't reading anything else, and so I didn't want to read. And I wasn't really invested in the characters, really didn't care about what happened in the story. I think I stopped right when stuff might be starting to happen, but I just don't care. So this was one of the books I drew from my TBR glasses. Basically, if I don't read a book from my TBR glass, I have to unhaul a book, but I am choosing to unhaul this one because I really don't care what happens in this. And I also, and I know that Erik said this in his video as well, I feel bad because this is like Jesse the Reader's favorite book, and Jesse the Reader is like so popular on BookTube. And I don't like not liking a book that he likes, but I don't care what happens in this, and I don't care to start another series that I'm not really invested in. So this is going away. The other book I was supposed to read from my TBR glasses was Miss Carter's War, and I did not get to this because I kind of got burnt out on historical fiction. So I do need to unhaul another book. I'm going to keep this one because I am still intrigued by it. I think I'm going to unhaul A Private Hotel for Gentle Ladies. I had this on a TBR sometime last year, and I think it was for a magical read, one of the magical readathons, and I started it and I didn't really get like captivated by it, so I think I'm going to say goodbye to this as well. So I will be unhauling both of these. All right, so these are the books plus a couple more that I read in February. Let me know down below how your February went. Did you get a lot of reading done? Did you participate in the Historathon or the Thrillerathon, which were two readathons that I fully participated in the Historathon. I casually participated in the Thrillerathon. How did you do on those? I ended up getting 2 bingos, I think. Let's look and see. Yeah, I ended up getting 2 bingos. Oop. Oh no, yeah, here and here. So let me know how this Historathon went if you participated. Let me know how February went in general. That's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy reading. Bye.